The sun drops behind the hills, and the light goes with it. No streetlights. No glowing phone screen. No porch light left on for you. Just an absolute, total darkness that almost nobody alive today has ever actually experienced. So what did you do once that darkness fell for hundreds of thousands of years? The answer is stranger and far more alive than you'd expect. You probably picture your ancestors huddled in fear the moment the sun went down, waiting silently for morning. The evidence tells a completely different story. Night wasn't empty time. It was some of the richest, most socially important time your ancestors ever had. Start with the moment that changed everything: fire. Sometime around 400,000 years ago, control of fire became a regular, reliable part of human life. Anthropologist Wiessner, who has studied a hunter-gatherer group called the Jew/Hoansi for over 4 decades, has pointed out that fire didn't just warm bodies. It extended the day itself, creating hours of time that couldn't be used for hunting or gathering, but could be used for something else entirely. Archaeologists studying sites from the Upper Paleolithic in Europe have found 3 distinct forms of artificial light your ancestors relied on: hearth fires, torches, and small stone lamps, carved from sandstone or limestone, burning animal fat, usually from pigs or cattle, as fuel. Each one lit only a small circle of space. Each one was enough. Now picture what actually happened inside that circle of light. In 2014, Wiessner published a study comparing 174 daytime and nighttime conversations among the Jews/Hoansi. The difference was stark. Daytime talk centered on practical matters: economics, complaints, logistics, the business of staying alive. Nighttime talk, around the fire, shifted almost entirely into something else: singing, dancing, religious ritual, and elaborate stories, often about specific, well-known people in the group. Day was for survival. Night was for everything that made the group actually cohere. Here's what one of those nights might have looked like. An elder starts speaking, voice low, firelight moving across faces. The story is about a hunt from a previous generation, or the spirits believed to live in specific animals, or a pattern in the night sky that meant something. Children listen with wide eyes. Adults nod, already knowing the story, hearing it again anyway. This wasn't just entertainment. With no writing and no schools, the fire genuinely was the classroom, and stories were, in a real sense, the earliest form of shared media. Now here's the part that will probably surprise you the most. Your ancestors likely didn't sleep the way you do. Historian Roger Ekirch spent years combing through pre-industrial European documents, letters, diaries, court records, spanning several centuries, and found consistent references to something called segmented sleep. People slept in 2 distinct blocks. A first sleep, a few hours after dark, then a waking period in the middle of the night, then a second sleep, until dawn. That middle of the night waking wasn't treated as a problem. It was its own small window of time, a miniature day inside the darkness, used for quiet conversation, prayer, reflection on dreams, or simply lying there awake with your own thoughts. In the 1990s, researcher Thomas Wehr ran an experiment that helps explain why. He placed volunteers in roughly 14 hours of nightly darkness, no artificial light at all, mimicking a natural winter night before electricity existed. After a few weeks, their sleep naturally split into 2 distinct phases, separated by an hour or 2 of quiet wakefulness, totaling around 8 hours a night. Modern hunter-gatherer groups studied today average closer to 6.5 hours, waking well after dark and rising with the sun. If you've ever woken at 3 a.m. and worried something was wrong with you, it probably wasn't. It may be one of the oldest, most normal patterns your body still remembers. Darkness wasn't only for rest and talk either. It was, in specific cases, actively useful. Researchers studying Neanderthal sites in Gibraltar have found the bones of a bird called the chough, killed and cut with stone tools, in numbers too consistent to be accidental. Choughs roost in caves specifically at night. A 2021 study proposed, and then tested through direct reenactment, that Neanderthals used fire torches to disorient roosting birds in the dark, flushing them into confusion while other group members blocked exits and caught them by hand or net. This required timing, coordination, and specific roles assigned to different people, working together, in the dark, entirely by firelight. That is not a simple animal. That is a highly organized one. Look up, and darkness offered something else entirely: information. With no artificial light competing with it, the night sky was almost unimaginably vivid, the full sweep of the Milky Way clearly visible, not the faint smear it is for most people today. Your ancestors used the movement of stars and the moon as a working calendar, tracking seasons, predicting migrations, timing when specific plants would ripen. Some researchers have proposed that certain prehistoric stone structures were built specifically as tools for this kind of sky watching, though that particular claim remains debated. What's not in dispute is that the night sky functioned as a genuinely practical instrument, not just a source of wonder. Here's the discovery that might be the strangest of all. Archaeologists examining small engraved stone plaques from a rock shelter called Montastruc in southern France, made by Magdalenian people roughly 15,000 years ago, noticed something odd. Many of the stones showed clear heat damage. In 2022, researcher Andy Needham and his team tested a theory using replica plaques and virtual reality modeling. When they placed the engraved stones near a flickering fire, the animals carved into them, horses, reindeer, appeared to move. The engraving lines had been cut specifically to interact with shifting firelight, creating a genuine illusion of motion. This wasn't accidental art viewed by daylight. It was intentional animation, designed to be experienced exactly once the sun went down, by people gathered close around a flame. This is the part that mirrors your own life directly, whether you've noticed it or not. You still gather people close together after dark. You still tell stories that matter more at night than they ever do at noon. You still, occasionally, wake in the middle of the night for no obvious reason and lie there thinking. Archaeologist Nancy Gonlin has pointed out that despite humans spending roughly half of all existence in darkness, archaeology has focused almost entirely on what happened during daylight hours, as if night were simply empty space between days worth studying. It never was. The sun drops behind the hills, and the light goes with it, and for hundreds of thousands of years, that was never the end of anything. It was when the stories started, when the sky opened up into a working chart of the seasons, when carved animals learned to move in firelight, and when, somewhere in the quiet hour after your first sleep and before your second, you lay awake under an impossibly dense field of stars, and felt, in some way you couldn't fully explain, like part of something larger than yourself.